Her family, she writes, also owned a male goat that was nasty and mean because it had not been castrated.
Was the goat supposed to castrate himself? Did you give the goat some money to go into town and get his castration done, and then he stole the money? He just blew it on carrot wine. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem's journey to being Trump's VP pick hit a puppy-sized speed bump last week when, well, I'll let them tell it.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem released a new book. The Guardian got its hands on a copy, and the outlet is flagging a section in which she describes killing her dog named Cricket. All right, so it begins here. Cricket was a wire hair pointer, about 14 months old, she says, adding that the dog, a female, had an aggressive personality and needed to be trained to be used for hunting pheasants.
She includes her story about the ill-fated Cricket, she says, to illustrate her willingness in politics as well as in South Dakota life to do anything, quote, difficult, messy, and ugly, end quote, if it simply needs to be done.
Now, wait a minute. I'm confused because you said that she had a naturally aggressive personality, but you're trying to prove that you're willing to do anything ugly and messy and whatever has to be done. Y'all sound like two peas in a pod.
By taking Cricket on a pheasant hunt with older dogs, Noem says she hoped to calm the young dog down and begin to teach her how to behave.
She's just a puppy. All right, unfortunately, Cricket ruined the hunt, she said, going, quote, out of her mind with excitement, chasing all the birds and having the time of her life.
Now, wait a minute. Now, you went to hunt pheasants, and Cricket is being a problem because she's chasing birds.
Noem describes calling Cricket, then using an electronic collar to attempt to bring her under control. Nothing worked. Then, on the way home after the hunt, as Noem stopped to talk to a local family, Cricket escaped Noem's truck and attacked the family's chickens.
So, quote, grabbing one chicken at a time, crunching it to death with one bite, then dropping it to attack another.
Well, it sounds like Cricket is willing to do anything ugly or messy and whatever has to be done. I mean, she should probably get some votes in the South Dakota gubernatorial election.
Cricket, the untrainable dog, Noem writes, behaved like a, quote, trained assassin.
Did you just say the untrainable dog for hunting operated like a trained assassin?
Cricket, the untrainable dog, Noem writes, behaved like a, quote, trained assassin.
What level did you complete in school?
When Noem finally grabbed Cricket, she says the dog, quote, whipped around to bite me. Then, as the chicken's owner wept, Noem repeatedly apologized, wrote the shocked family a check, quote, for the price they asked, and helped them dispose of the carcasses littering the scene of the crime.
Gotta love the scene of the crime. Now, I have to ask you, does Cricket understand what pheasants are? Because if you're trying to train her to hunt pheasants and she just went ham chasing birds, which I believe pheasants are a bird, but then went ham on the chickens, sounds like she just misunderstood what pheasants meant. And that ain't a Cricket problem, that's a you problem. Because we already established your command of the English language is limited.
Okay, through it all, Noem says Cricket was, quote, the picture of pure joy.
And that's when you knew you had to take Cricket out. Ain't gonna be no pure joy around me. Ain't gonna be no pure joy around me. Ain't nothing happy around me. Not my family, certainly not my spouse. I'll get to that one. And certainly not my constituents. If I see pure joy, I'm getting a gun.
I hated that dog, Noem writes, adding that Cricket had proved herself, quote, untrainable, dangerous to anyone she came in contact with, and less than worthless as a hunting dog.
So at that moment, Noem says, I realized I had to put her down. Noem, who also represented her state in Congress for 8 years, got her gun, then led Cricket to a gravel pit. It was not a pleasant job, she writes, but it had to be done. And after it was over, I realized another unpleasant job needed to be done. Incredibly, Noem's tale of slaughter is not finished.
What you mean it's not finished?
Her family, she writes, also owned a male goat that was nasty and mean.
Oh, now you're just a serial killer on the loose. I have watched enough court TV and ID to know what happens when a serial gets the first taste of blood. You ain't fooling me, Kristi Noem. You just went off on a spree.
Her family, she writes, also owned a male goat that was nasty and mean because it had not been castrated.
Naturally.
Furthermore, as one knows.
Now here I have to ask you, whose fault was it that the goat, because you're blaming the goat's personality that it had been castrated. Was the goat supposed to castrate himself? Did you give the goat some money to go into town and get his castration done, and then he stole the money? He just blew it on carrot wine and came back fully intact? Is that what happened? Or did you not castrate the goat, the thing that you are blaming for his behavior? This is somebody really appearing on TV regularly?
The goat smelled disgusting, musky, rancid, and loved to chase Noem's children, knocking them down and ruining their clothes.
Noem decided to kill the unnamed goat the same way she had just killed Cricket the dog. But though she dragged him to a gravel pit, the goat jumped as she shot and therefore survived the wound. Noem says she went back to her truck, retrieved another shell, and hurried back to the gravel pit and put him down. At that point, Noem writes, she realized the construction crew had watched her kill both animals. The startled workers swiftly got back to work, she writes, only for a school bus to arrive and drop off Noem's children.
So you mean to tell me you also terrified witnesses in the process of your spree? You got terrified construction workers and children on scene, and this was what you just had to put in your memoir?
Kennedy looked around confused. Noem writes of her daughter who asked, hey, where's Cricket? This is not a joke. If you are thinking this is not true, Noem has now defended the scenes in the statements that she made in her own book, saying she loves animals, but tough decisions happen all the time on a farm. In fact, she says they recently put down 3 horses.
Now, as you can probably guess, when this hit the timeline, she was in the doghouse. In fact, so many people tweeted, I can't believe I agree with Cat Turd, that Cat Turd was trending. But it went further with people saying, this is the end of her chance to be Trump's VP pick. Even Ron DeSantis saw fit to dance on her gravel pit. And to that I say, this? So this is what did it. So it was totally fine when she went on CNN and...
The law in your state is similar. It's an abortion ban, including areas where a woman is raped or in times of incest. So do you believe that the law in your state goes too far, just as he said about Arizona? Are you with him on that, or do you think that he's wrong?
You know, it's interesting because the law in my state was passed decades before I ever became governor. It was a trigger law that said when Roe v. Wade became overturned, that this would be the law that would go into place. So that may be a topic that will continue to be discussed in South Dakota. Our law today allows an exception to save the life of the mother, but the people in South Dakota will decide what their laws look like.
What do you think it should look like?
I can have an opinion, and I can weigh forward, and I can look at the science and what we've learned about babies in the womb, and to believe that we should protect life. But I think that our law today is what South Dakota wants, and they'll continue to have that debate, and I'll continue to follow through in my role, which is to make sure the will of the people is enforced.
Do you think there should be exceptions for rape and incest, for example?
And I think that every state's going to look different. That's what's different, Dana, is that I've constantly looked, and we rely in South Dakota on the fact that I'm pro-life, and we have a law that says that there is an exception for the life of the mother. And I just don't believe a tragedy should perpetuate another tragedy.
Tragedy. She called rape a tragedy, like somebody just fell into a hole or got struck by rape. That was fine, but this is the thing. The dog, Like, it wasn't a red flag that she didn't know the state of New York operated an independent legal system just like the one in South Dakota that allows her to wander around shooting dogs?
Because Donald Trump himself acknowledged in 2018 that he authorized payments to Stormy Daniels and reimbursed Michael Cohen. We actually have the reimbursement checks to Cohen signed by Donald Trump. So those are the facts. Are you comfortable with this?
Michael Cohen worked for President Trump. President Trump paid his legal fees. He paid his Michael Cohen legal fees and bills, and that's what this trial will bring forward, hopefully, is the truth. What a ridiculous case that this is, and that it's based on the narrative today that is coming from a man who is proven to be a liar. So I'm hoping that this judge makes the right decision. I'm hoping these jurors can come in and be unbiased, and we'll let this case go forward in a swift manner that allows President Trump to get back on the campaign trail. Americans deserve to hear from their candidates, and the Democrats and the activists are using this trial to derail him, to keep him in court instead of out talking to Americans about what their real concerns are. And their real concerns are their everyday lives. They need a leader in the White House who gets up every day and puts them first and doesn't raise their taxes, doesn't overregulate them, take away their freedoms, and give all of our money to other countries instead of making sure that we're taking care of America first and keeping us safe and secure.
I just want to say for the record, there's absolutely no evidence that President Biden is involved in this. This is a case that is being brought in the state of New York.
It wasn't a problem that she allegedly had an affair with Corey Lewandowski. In fact, so many people posted about that Lewandowski was trending. And it wasn't for this. Of course, an affair in itself isn't a deal breaker. Am I right, Trump? And Boebert. And Marjorie Taylor Greene. But Corey Lewandowski, the married father of 4 who was fired for allegedly grabbing a female reporter. By the way, this took me down a rumor rabbit hole, and apparently Cocksure Corey was getting it in. First it was Hope Hicks and then Noem, but then she supposedly dumped him after he propositioned a rich donor's wife, and Noem went back to her husband, and Hicks moved on to Rob Porter, who resigned over allegations he abused his 2 ex-wives, and then Brad Parscale, who you might remember being arrested.
Get on the ground, man. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground, man. Easy. Get on the ground. What do you say?
And then committed by Florida police after his wife, yes, his wife, called them. Hope Hicks got worse taste in men than the Detroit Pistons. She got worse taste in men than all the Kardashians put together. Now, I know what Marjorie Taylor Greene's wig holder meant when he said that liberal women were ugly.
Liberal women tend to be some of the ugliest women I've ever seen. And I'm serious. I mean, zero makeup.
Well,
they take no pride in their, well, they want to be men. They take no pride in their dress, their attire, their makeup, their haircut. Half of them look like men. Hairy armpits, hairy legs. Come on. That is not embracing what it means to be a woman.
Yeah, standards can feel ugly when you can't reach them. Link to that video is in the bio, by the way. None of this was a problem, but the dogs is the thing. Not that she's facing a new lawsuit from consumer advocacy group Travelers United accusing Noem of doing an undisclosed advertisement for Smile, Texas.
Well, hi, I'm Kristi Noem. I'm the governor of South Dakota and had the opportunity to come to Smile, Texas to fix my teeth, which has been absolutely amazing.
Or promoting a business owned by the son of the Secretary of State Department of Public Safety on Twitter. Or when she said COVID was going to magically miss her state and turn down federal unemployment assistance, but spent $5 million on South Dakota travel ads. And then South Dakota had one of the worst 10 death rates in the country, despite having less than 1 million people spread out over our 17th largest state. Or the fact that she built her career on the hardship her family faced because of the estate tax that hit after her father's death, and it was mostly proven to be a complete lie. Or the fact that she, the governor of South Dakota, is now banned from some parts of her state after tribes voted to legally bar her from reservation land after she made comments linking tribal leaders to drug cartels. Just think about that. She's pushing for a bigger platform when she's banned from parts of her own. That's like the AARP banning Ron DeSantis, or black people banning Ron DeSantis. Actually, both probably should look into that. Can we do that? Can we do that? None of that was a problem, but the dogs, that's the thing. Well, looks like that won't be a problem either.